Hello and welcome to another episode of 33 Conversations. I'm your host, Michael Abney, and today I have the pleasure of having a really special person on my podcast, Michelle Steiner. You reached out at the very beginning when I started this, and our schedules kind of didn't coordinate for a little while, but I'm so glad that you're with us today and sharing your story about your mission and how that you came about all of like how you're living your life, your best life, right?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. I loved what you were sharing when we were talking before the interview about your writing and all of that. So just kind of give us a little sense of like who you are and what your mission is. We'll start off
Sure.
with that.
I'd be happy
Yeah,
to. Yes. Well, my name is Michelle Steiner. I live in Pennsylvania with my husband Ron and our two cats, Jack and Sparrow. I am a paraeducator. I work in a school with students who have disabilities and some who don't. I am also a writer, a speaker, and a photographer. And I have a blog called Michelle's Mission. And the mission behind Michelle's mission is to encourage, empower, and educate people with and without disabilities.
exactly. I love it. How did that how did you even think that you wanted to do this? Or give me a little backstory about how you got to where you're at right now.
Sure. My backstory is I have a learning disability and I was diagnosed whenever I was in kindergarten. And my school years were a lot of struggle. My teacher noticed I was having a lot of difficulty in the classroom with writing my name, tying my shoes, and just with learning in general. And she recommended that I get tested for having a learning disability. And sure enough, I have one. And they didn't call it dyscalculia at that point. It was just one of those blanket terms of a learning disability, but they knew I was not going to be a genius, a math genius by the time I was 5 or 6. I had to repeat the grade and I began to receive specialty instruction and accommodations. And I also experienced bullying whenever I was in school. That was one of those things that was really difficult for me. Everyone knew I had a disability and that I struggled. And I can just remember it was hard. But the one thing that really did ended up saving me was writing and reading. My dad read me a story every night when I was little, before I went to bed, and he found a story about a dinosaur that I wrote in second or third grade. And that totally changed my world because he said, wow, this is really good. Up until that point, I didn't think I was good at anything. I thought, oh, I'm just not very talented. And that became my world, especially whenever I was being bullied. And I can remember I joined a writing group for adults whenever I was a teenager, and I just wasn't connecting with my peers. And I can remember the people in the group told me, you should really write about having a learning disability. And I thought, oh no, that's too personal. I wrote some really bad poetry and some other stuff I wouldn't want to read today. And but I put that on the shelf about that. And what's really remarkable about that group is 20 some years later, we're still meeting once a month and talking about our writing. And it took me a while, but it wasn't until I graduated from college with my bachelor's degree, despite being told I couldn't do it, is whenever I finally got the courage to write about having a disability. And I got married, we moved into a house, I got diagnosed with limited hand dexterity, and I was so frustrated that because I couldn't do that, there was a call in the mighty for what's a seemingly easy task for others, but it's really hard with your disability. And I decided to write about that. And I had such a great response that I had other people that were telling me, oh, that's my story. So that encouraged me to write other articles and to get published on the Mighty and some other places, and then to start my own blog. And I also feature a lot of my photography on my blog too because I'm not able to drive. So I'll be able to take pictures of flowers and other things that I see in my walks. And rather than being sad that I don't have a ride somewhere, I get that chance to notice details that other people miss. And I get that to put that on my blog along with my articles.
We need that. We need people like sharing with us what we're missing as we're all like, yeah. Wow, what an incredible story. I love it. I know about the bullies too. They were weird, right? Such a
Yeah.
weird energy. Like, where do kids understand how to do that to each other? Like, where does that come from? It seemed instinctual, but like, yeah, I totally get it and how difficult it is. But this also gives you something too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Talk about that.
a lot of when you have bullies though, it also shows with my work when I do with my students in my school, I get that chance to kind of go in and say, I know what that's like, I know what that feels like, and I can kind of give some strategies to be able to help somebody. But it also created in me that sense of independence and how to be strong, especially during those years when I was also an only child for 13 years. My brother didn't come along until I was 13. So I had to learn how to get things done without the approval of a lot of other people. And I started to develop myself as a person and the things I like to do. And I think some of that still goes to this day. I can be that kind of person that while I care about other people and I do like being around others, I also am that person that can be that independent self as well.
Wait, was it your dad that told you about the right that he thought you were a good writer? Was that the first time? How did that impact you?
That really changed how I viewed myself because I didn't think that I was good at anything. I was so discouraged. School was so hard for me, even after I was in learning support classes. And I thought, well, I'm not good at tests. I'm not good at sports. I mean, I blink every time a ball would come in my direction. And I thought, I mean, there's just nothing that I'm not good at, that I'm good at. And when my dad finally found something like that, I thought, wow, this is something I can do. This is something that I enjoy doing. And that just boosted my self esteem. And also the reading, too. That was another big thing. Once I found out how to read on my own, that also really became powerful, too, because I could have a book with me. I could be able to read and to be able to, that was just another thing that I enjoyed doing.
What's your favorite thing to read?
To read suspense books. I,
Okay.
yes.
I love it. Do you get to do it often? A lot of people don't make space for reading anymore.
I do
Pet
when I
peeve.
get a chance to read. It's changed somewhat throughout the years, though. I'd like to do audiobooks now. I never thought I would
Yeah.
do audiobooks, but I find when I'm cleaning or if I'm at the gym and I'm on one of the machines, having that audiobook passes the time and it also helps to slow me down because I am a fast reader on the page because I get excited whenever I'm reading. That sometimes I just go really quickly, but an audiobook I have to slow down, I have to listen.
Yes. It's another way to absorb. I like them too, especially if I'm driving or it also reminds me of a podcast too. Like that's why I like podcasts. You know, if they're done right, the conversation's good because it's how we all communicate with each other. And if we can talk about the things that we don't normally have a space to talk about, it just provides a lot. If it's healing, it makes you feel connected to humanity, and we're all in the same boat, no matter how what life thought it was supposed to teach us who we were. We're all finding out who we are by the life that we lead and what we have and what we're given. You know, like so. I admire you for taking what you were given and going for it and not letting a bully stop you for sure, but like not letting anything in life. So like what was the next step? Like that you went to college, you completed that, and then you like when did you get married and the mission start to emerge that this is something that you wanted to give back? Like when did that start?
I know that I got married. I met my husband right when I was in college. We didn't meet on campus, but I met him at university. And it took us a little, we had a long engagement and a long time with getting to know each other and dating. And I can remember we got married about 7 years afterwards. And we moved into our house, and that was maybe about 8 or 9, about years of us knowing each other. And when I moved into the house, I could not unlock the door. And that was just really frustrating for me. And I can just remember that's when I got that courage. I was like, I'm ready to write about it. I am ready to be able to do that. And I got a lot of articles published. But it wasn't until I got the idea for the blog until around COVID. I can remember being in
Okay.
And I thought, okay, why don't I start this? I mean, I was able to get a grant through Disability Pride PA at the time. And I thought, I'm going to just write about this and we're going to see how that works out. And it has really been something that gave me that mission. It gave me, well, what is my mission? How do I want to be able to help people that have disabilities? And because part of it is I like to encourage people that do have them to go out and achieve their dreams. And I want to empower them to be able to find a way to do that. It may not come in the way that we always expect, but sometimes it comes into something different. And I also like to educate people about them because a lot of times people think they understand them, and there's a lot of misconceptions that are surrounding that, especially around learning disabilities.
Let's talk about it. What are some of the misconceptions that you can clear up? I love clarity. I love it. So like, let's clear it up.
Sure. One of the
Yeah.
first misconceptions is that a person with a learning disability can't learn. And that's anything but the truth. Someone with a learning disability can learn, they just need to learn it differently. They might have to have extra repetition, and they might just have to, maybe there's just going to be one area they're not great at it. When you think about it, everybody has something that they can't do. So, I mean, that, and there's strengths that everybody has and things that they're not so great at too. And for me, that's math. And I did what I needed to do and went through learning support and accommodations. But I sure didn't, I did not want to sign up to be an accountant or a mathematician. I mean, I went for things that I was good at. And I think that's another thing. We have to go on the strengths that we're given, not necessarily the things that give us a lot of difficulties. I also think that we have this other myth with learning disabilities that the person will grow out of it once they're done with school. And people with learning disabilities don't grow out of it. We still have difficulties with learning different areas. It just presents itself in a different way. And I sometimes get that with people who know me. They tell me, well, you must have overcome your disability because you have a bachelor's degree. You've gotten published. You have a job. You must not have a disability. And I have to explain, well, I do have one, but that doesn't mean that I haven't had success in my life as well. Another thing we love to, with disabilities, people often want to believe they can't see having a learning disability. So people will think, well, you must not be disabled or you don't look like you're disabled. And the truth is, I have to explain that sometimes we can't always see what somebody's disability is. But I mean, it's still there, and it's just a part of me. It's not my whole being. I think that's another thing too. A lot of times people either get into this identity where they think that having that is their whole identity, and it's not for some people. And I mean, it's a part of who I am, at least in my opinion. And
Yeah.
other people might shy away from using that too. But it's still, I mean, it's still there. It's just one part of me.
Yeah. Not the whole thing or an aspect of it. How, because it's two-way street. So you know that, but then you're experiencing, I'm sure, people projecting their story about disability or the word. You know, it's dis means not an ability, so there's something lacking in an ability somewhere. I mean, that's the language of. I mean, that's language and the meaning of the word. And yes, you operate without that, but you had it, and you're like, so you overcame those things because like the end of the day, we all have things in our life, no matter who we are, that stop us.
Yes.
That is our own disabilities, our own way of perceiving things. But just like what you said, most magical thing that I like you said was like it was a gift for you to walk so you could notice the things. And like, yeah. But the herd, it wants to drive and do all the things, but you are separate from that. And so you get to experience this other thing that none of us, like, we might have the disability of driving and not connecting and road rage and all the other things. Because when you're driving, you're generally in your head about wherever it is that you think you're going to go. So you're not really present, and you get to be present, which is extraordinary. What is the things that you do? What are the things that you're excited about creating for how do you see your mission being fulfilled and continuing to be filled as you live life?
Right.
Like, where's it going to go?
Yeah, exactly. I love to be able to expand my blog. That's definitely something I want to do. I'd also like to write a book in the future about having one, especially about nature, because that's such a big part of my life. I love to go and take pictures of butterflies and flowers and to write an autobiography about my life. Or, yeah, to write that memoir about my life and with having a learning disability. And I'd like to also write some more about um, possibly doing like other kinds of books too about disabilities as well.
What? Do you have some crazy ideas?
I would love to do a children's story. I do have a children's story in mind about that. And then I also think maybe getting somebody else's perspective, because a lot of times people with disabilities may not have employment or they might face barriers with that. And I want to be able to show a lot of kids that that's a possibility, that they can have a job and nothing has to hold them back from achieving their dreams.
What other things that you're aware of that you have because of your quote unquote disability? I don't even like using that word, but like for the sake of what we're talking about and language, let's use it. But I assert that this is giving you a perspective that none of the rest of us have, that you kind of know, right? About the condition of a human being.
Right. I think it's created in me a lot of empathy because I know what that's like, especially I work with seventh graders this year. And it is
Wow.
like hearing a recording of myself at that age. I hate my learning disability. I don't feel very smart. I wish I didn't have it. And I get that chance to go and tell them that they are smart and that having one is not the end of the world. It doesn't define you. And I feel like if I did not have a learning disability, I would, I think I would be gravitating towards helping other people. But I don't think that I would have that empathy or that understanding that I do, because I know what a lot of them are feeling. Not every single one, but I know what that's like to be that kid that's sitting in the classroom that does not feel very smart, feels like everybody's looking at them and they know that they're in the room that's not the room they want to be in. And I understand that because that's something I've experienced. So when I go in there, I can really understand what a lot of them are facing. I also know what it's like for adults that I might talk to that have a disability and maybe they don't have a job, or maybe they've had experiences where they weren't able to do college, or they're just really struggling in life. And I know what that struggle feels like. And it can be a challenge. I mean, it can be hard to be able to find where your purpose is with having one, especially when you're younger and you haven't met somebody and you're wondering, am I going to meet somebody? Am I going to have a job? Am I going to be able to create this life? And I feel sometimes that I can be an encouragement to somebody to say that that's a possibility for you, because I know what it's like to be there. And if I didn't have that, I certainly couldn't say that I know what it's like. I could feel the sympathy that must be difficult to struggle, but I wouldn't know it until I lived it.
True. And that sharing that with others is really extraordinary. So did you think that did you always know you were going to be in a relationship, be married? I mean, did you think of that as a possibility? Like,
that's something I always wanted. Marriage is really something that was important, is something important in our family. And I swear my mom and my grandma had my wedding planned out from the day I was born. So
yeah, awesome.
yeah, it was really important. And I had my mom and dad, they've been together for over 50 years. So I had a really great marriage model to me growing up. But I also had people that told me, you may not find someone because you have a disability. I was doing an internship when I was very young. And the woman who I was working with, she was not married and she was older. And she said, you may not be able to find somebody because of your disability. And I didn't know that at that age, that she was projecting her insecurities.
Mm-hmm. Wow. When did you find that out? When did you find that out? That she was that.
Yeah, I think that later in my life, not when I was thinking about that after I got married and everything. Because I did, she was right, I did experience rejection, but it was not, it was, the person was not the right one for me. I've had people
Yeah.
that have said, I don't want to date you because you have this. And I also can remember my ex, when he was breaking up with me, said, I think you could drive if you really wanted to, and I'm tired of taking you places. And there was just so many bad relationships that I finally just prayed. I said, God, do not send anybody till it's the right person. And he was really faithful to do that. But I just remember thinking about her saying that. And I thought, now I can look back on it. Well, that was a single person and that didn't have a relationship with somebody. So she's projecting that on me. And I just wish I would have found that out when I was younger, because that was a fear of mine, that I would be alone forever.
I'm glad you know that that's not true.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that you're in a position where you're sharing that with kids that need it the most, because you're like going to shave that off of their learning curve or their awareness. I think that's extraordinary. That's a gift. Yeah, that's a mission. What are you are you working on something right now that has got you like excited, pulling you forward?
I just got in my fourth anthology, so that was really interesting. I still don't have a book of my own yet, but I would love to work on that. So that's something that I am definitely interested in doing. And I'm just going forward with sharing my story through writing and through speaking, and just trying to help as many people as I possibly can.
Well, you're doing a really great job at it. And yeah, you're articulate. It's amazing. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I am like, you have such a beautiful spirit with you. Um, what would you tell somebody that I know we've talked about the kids, but like, what message would you have for somebody that maybe is like this conversation shifted their perception a little bit, and like, give us a lesson.
I would tell them the success doesn't always come in the package that you expect. Sometimes it comes in something even better. And I would encourage people to also know what they want and to be able to find a way to do that.
I love it. That's perfect. Thank you for doing what you do in the world. It's so needed, and you're such an expert at it, and having the empathy, and there's no bitterness about you. There's just nothing but like light and love that's being exuded. So I think that is extraordinary, and what a gift that you are to give that back. So I appreciate you being in alignment with your mission.
Thank you.
And that you made it through the bullies. Yeah.
Yes.
There is life on the other side of that thing. And what I would tell the bullies is just, or people being bullied, that those people have there's something really not complete about them, and they're projecting that onto you, and none of that is real. It's just,
Exactly.
yeah. It may be even showing up to help, like, strengthen you, help you. Maybe, I know the bullies kind of gave me a sense of who I was, or that, that not to concern myself with that. I bet it did the same way for you too, right?
Exactly, because you know who you are. And
Yeah.
that is definitely something. You're not just somebody following the crowd. You're an individual.
Yeah. There you go. I couldn't have said it any better. Well, thank you so much for showing up today and being part of my podcast. I know I learned a lot, and I thank you for shedding light on something that we don't often talk about. And you just being authentically you is extraordinary. So I'm going to be more me too. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening in today and to another conversation, and go out today and have yourself a conversation. Learn something new. Be curious. And we'll see you on the next conversation. Bye, guys.